Okay. So welcome, friends around the world. My name's Bhante Akaliko, and I'm a queer Buddhist monk. I use he, him pronouns. I'm the founder of Rainbodhi, LGBTQIA+ Buddhist community. And today I'm thrilled to be joined by some guests from Brazil. And we'll be talking a little bit about life as a queer Buddhist in Brazil. And we'll also be talking about Rainbodhi's Guide to Inclusivity, Welcoming the Rainbow, a guide for LGBTQIA+ inclusion for Buddhists, which has been translated and will be published by our guests today. So please let me welcome our guests. We've got Icaro Matias, who has been looking after the translation, and we're also joined by Reverend Jean, who is a minister of religion in Brazil. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's a real pleasure to have you here, and I thank you for your time. So in Australia, we always begin with an acknowledgement of country. And so I'd just like to do that very briefly to let you know that today I'm speaking to you from the lands of the Ngunnawal people here in the Australian Capital Territory. And we just acknowledge that this land was and always will be Aboriginal land. And we pay our respects to Aboriginal leaders and to First Nations people everywhere. So you're in Brazil. And I think many people listening here today will be surprised to hear that there are Buddhists in Brazil. Only today I was talking to a Sri Lankan monk, and he said that his teacher, also a Sri Lankan monk, spent a long time traveling through Brazil teaching meditation. And so I was really thrilled to hear that. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about your lives as Buddhists in Brazil?
Sure. Reverend, do you want to start?
The question, it was for you, not for me.
Okay.
Both of you. I'd love to hear from both of you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Bhante, to invite us to talk about Buddhism in Brazil, about the Rainbow Sangha Brasil, and a little bit of the Brazilian situation, Buddhism in Brazil situation. Well, Brazil is mainly a Christian country. Indeed, we are very few here. We are very few in terms of population, Buddhism population here in Brazil. We are about 200,000. It's 1% of Brazilian people, so very, very few. But Buddhism in Brazil has about 100 years. People start to come to Brazil in the beginning of the 20th century, mostly Chinese and Japanese by immigration. And mainly Japanese people. So we have many Japanese tradition, Buddhism tradition here in Brazil, like Soto Zen, Jodo Shinshu, Jodo Shu, Shingon Shu, and in the mid-20s of the 20th century, we had a lot of Tibetan Buddhism coming to Brazil as well. So we have today a variety of Buddhism here in Brazil. And people come to Buddhism to mostly with that sense of esoteric religion, to meditate, to talk about emotion problems, mentally problems. So we embrace, we begin to embrace people from these problems. And I personally am Buddhism about 10 years. I born in a Christian family, and when I start to note that I am a homosexual man, I felt like a little bit oppressed by my religion, and I start to feel some crisis with my own religion, and start to search something that helped me to understand my sexuality, my problems in my life. And part of my family was Buddhism, because my uncle married with a daughter of a monk. And so that's the way I started to my Buddhism journey. And today I am in the Jodo Shinshu tradition, a Japanese tradition, the same tradition of Reverend John. So we met there in this tradition, and we knew that we each other are homosexual in Buddhism. So we start to think to begin with a group of LGBT people in Buddhism. We saw that many people start to search Buddhism like a religion alternative, to think about the gender identity, the sexuality, and think that Buddhism is a inclusive a religion that embraces these people. And we start the Rainbow Sangha project to show people that Buddhism indeed can embrace all the diversity and sexuality and the gender identity too. I'm sorry, my English is not.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your personal story. It's really interesting to hear how you came to Buddhism and to start to get an understanding of the project that you and Reverend Jean are working together on. But Reverend Jean, I'd like to ask you, are you happy to share your journey into Buddhism, how you became a Buddhist? And then afterwards, perhaps we can talk more about the Rainbow Sangha.
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for inviting us for this chat. And it's a pleasure. We are on the opposite side of the world. So most of 12 hours of jet lag. So thank you so much. My journey was almost the same from Icaro, but I didn't grow up in a Christian religion. My parents didn't matter about religion at that time, so they didn't care about this thing. And when I was about 12 years old, we started to follow Japanese religion, the new Japanese religion after the First War. So the new traditions that came from Japan to Brazil, and we started to follow this religion. And I stayed at this religion about 15 years, even following a missionary career. I was preparing myself to be a minister in this religion. I was about 17 years old, 18 years old. But my parents didn't allow to follow the religion career. They said, no, you have to go to university, you have to study, you cannot be a religion person. And then beside that, I started to recognize myself as a gay man, and with all the point in our culture, the Christian culture. Even if you're not Christian, we live in a Christian culture with all the judgments, all the values about human beings and what it's allowed and what is not allowed. So I started to have some conflict in my inside, and then I quit this religion. And many years ago, I started started to be interested in Buddhism. And then in 2001, 2002, I started at Pure Land tradition, Jodo Shinshu. And then we get together, me and Icaro, in about 2008, I think, about this. Even before, maybe, even before. But even though as a gay man decided with my family, with my job, with the society, I had some of kind of conflict inside of me with the religion, even in Buddhism. So I said, well, is Buddhism oppressive? Because nobody talks about LGBT condition in Buddhism, nobody. And at this time, I was starting my formation for Minister of Dharma in Jodo Shinshu. And my mentor said, well, you cannot change yourself, and there's no problem at all, because the primal wolf of Amida Buddha don't spare anyone to embrace. So anybody can born in Pure Land. So your condition is not a condition to born in a Pure Land. So why you are worrying about this? I said, well, this is true. So I had came out in the religion, in Buddhism, and then we talked, me and Icaro, how about make a project to have visibility of LGBT people in Buddhism, and the Buddhism in LGBT for LGBT people, because no one of those sanghas here in Brazil, they talk explicitly with the LGBT condition, and why, what, and how Buddhism watch for this, and are the temples and the dojos prepared to receive those people correctly? So we realized that nobody was prepared, even in our Sangha. So I think the major work started with Higashi Honganji, when we too was explicit that we are a gay man in a Sangha working, and especially a gay minister. So this make a change of point of view for the Sangha, the temple here in São Paulo, to say, wow, we have a gay minister. So he made his come out in the religion, and for our surprise, it was very, very well accepted. So we said, well, let's talk with other ministers and monks or other sanghas to see who can take this project and go further. And then we had some that accepted, and some those we denied, to said, no, Buddhism doesn't need to talk about LGBT condition, because this is a political problem, is a social problem, this is not a Dharma problem. And we said, no, this is a Dharma problem, yes, because the people are like they are. So we have to recognize this in our society, because religion has a point of weight in society decisions. So why Buddhism don't talk about this in our society? Why all the time we have Christian, Catholic, Protestant talking about LGBT condition, but we don't see Buddhism doing the same? So we have to participate of this discussion. This is a social issue. So, and we have to be inside. And then we started the project in 2019. It's the same year we had extremely right in the government. So it was 4 years we had with many problems for LGBT people, because all the political rights was cutting. So the government said, no, you don't have to have rights. Why you are special in the society? Everybody's equal. No, people are not equal in the society. We have to take care about each one like they are. So, but this is the right side of the political side. So we started in a critical point of our Brazilian society. And we are a very small group. Even we have almost 3,000 followers in Instagram or Facebook. We are very, very few in the real life. So in the diversity pride, the pride in last year, there were just 2 Buddhists on the pride. It was me and Icaro. So everybody,
Wonderful. But I think you made quite the impression.
yes, especially 4 years ago when we had at the same Pride, we had the first Christian Congress Inclusive Church in Brazil. And we were invited to join them, even if not a Christian church, but other segments of religion, inclusive religions, to talk about Christians. And then we walk on the streets. Everybody was together. So Catholics, Protestant, Lutherans, and Buddhists, Africans religions, and all the people said they started to make the party, the Pride as a party, and said, "Wow, you exist. So you are here, the religion people. So you are not oppressive for us." And we said, "No, religion is not oppressive. It's the way the people use the religion is oppressive."
And I think that Icaro has some photos of
Yes.
this event, which were really colorful. I think our viewers would love to see. If you're happy to share those, Icaro.
Share my screen.
Ah, see, there's Reverend Jean, looking very colorful. What a fantastic
Very
photograph.
good.
Wearing your
Yes.
robes.
This was last year. Yes, last year.
Last year.
Yeah.
So you
So
are the only 2 queer Buddhist representatives
yes,
in the Pride Parade. Wonderful. Yeah, so wonderful. And you'll be such an inspiration to many.
those ladies are a female trans, so they are a Christian from ICM, the Inclusive Church from San Francisco, and Pastor Ivana and Jacques Chanel. And they make a very, very special work for inclusive church, for a Christian church here in São Paulo. They are so lovely. And the next picture is for the Jewish people. So those are 2 a very, very special friends, Jewish friends that they started last year as well. So they are growing up for this discussion in Jewish community. But I think the Jewish community has fewer problems than Christian problems. Maybe I'm not sure, but I think. You can see the commentary close, the Walucho official. I was very pointed on the right side, Lucho. Fiquei muito feliz em encontrá-lo. Ícaro, point.
Unfortunately, I can't understand it because I only speak English, unlike you polylingual people. But it
So
looks like they're celebrating with you. Is that right?
yes, because Oluchoa official, there's a commentary under beside. And he said, I'm very happy to see a monk improbable in the crowd. So I was very, very happy. And next year we'll be together again. So it was very, very nice time.
And it's, oh wow, there's great photos. And I think it really does show two things for me. One is the importance of being visible for queer people within our spiritual communities. We exist, we're here, we're queer, we're Buddhist, and we're proud of who we are. And
Exactly.
that really does inspire people to be themselves, right? To feel, I do belong. Every part of me belongs in my spiritual practice. And I think for a lot of people, that's really new and really comforting. And the other thing I get from seeing these photographs is something that I've experienced in my work with Rainbodhi, and that is the importance of interfaith connections with other queer
Yes.
Buddhist groups. And this is one of the unexpected delights for me in my spiritual practice. I never used to interact with Christian, Muslim, Jewish groups, but being able to celebrate who we are as queer spiritual people together and to embrace other people's religious choices and religious identities and to stand with them together. I think this is, for me, a surprising um, outcome of my work with Rainbodhi and has really helped me grow as a spiritual person. So it's great to see you doing the same thing over in Brazil.
Thank you so much. We are very happy about this project. Even we're just beginning, but this make a big impact even for the other sanghas to see, well, they are representing Buddhism in the gay pride, in the pride. So it's very symbolic. Is very important as well to see the other people say seeing religion is not all of them are a oppressive way of life.
Yeah, thank you for sharing those, Icaro. And so just before, you're both mentioning that your sanghas, your Buddhist spiritual communities, the temples, the dojos, they weren't quite ready to appropriately receive Buddhist queer people. What was it that you saw that meant that people perhaps weren't welcome in those spaces?
I think we have to work in a new education for those people in community because they came from Asian generations. So the intolerance or the prejudice is like this because it's normal. So they grew up in this condition in the society. So as a Buddhist leader and as a Buddhist practitioner, LGBT people, we must make a work of new education. It's a step by step. So each each meeting, with the opportunity we have to meet the people and to clarify about the LGBT condition under the Dharma view. This is a special point because it's not a LGBT speech regular. Because to be regular, we have a lot of groups all over the world. But we have to talk about LGBT by the Dharma view. So how the Buddha see the LGBT people and what's the Dharma talks about this. So, and to see that the prejudice and the oppressive cultures are the selfish think and the self condition of each one is not the Dharma. Like my master said, to born in the pure land of Amida Buddha, you don't have to change yourself. And we are going to see this movement in San Francisco in 1970 when we can find the first gay marriage, and it was in a Jodo Shinshu church, because the Midavo doesn't care about your condition. So, but it's not only the Jodo Shinshu view, it's all of the Buddhism way is like this. And we have to make clear for people that this is okay, this is not a point to discussion. We don't need to be, we are not supposed to be here to discuss about all of this, but we need to do this.
And so
But the
sometimes,
Sangha are not.
yeah, I was going to say
Yes.
sometimes when religious organizations don't talk about queer issues, it sounds like, you know, this is not spiritual, you can't discuss this here. It,
Yes.
even when people say, oh, we welcome everybody, unless those organizations are explicitly inviting people in, saying you're welcome, we're going to care for you, we're going to look after you. Unless they do that, then queer people will still feel unwelcome. One experience I had, I think quite similar to you actually, was that even when people had a goodwill towards the LGBTQ community, they didn't know that there was discrimination occurring. They didn't know that there was silencing. They didn't know how to use pronouns correctly or to welcome people with open arms. And so it felt like for me there was some job I had to do to help educate. And this sounds like a very similar project to what you've been doing. We have to do this work of education. Which brings me to this resource that I created ages ago. And I was really happy to receive a message from Icaro saying that he wanted to translate it into Portuguese, which was something that was completely unexpected. Icaro, can you tell me why you thought there would be a need for this kind of resource in Brazil?
Well, I think as Reverend John said, we have a lot of issues in our sanghas here in Brazil to welcome the diversity and sexual diversity and LGBT people. You said before, like people have problem to speak about the right pronouns of the many possible pronouns that people are using today to identify themselves. We had some stories from that. Some weeks ago, a trans man talked to us and said that he started to in a Buddhist Sangha in his seat, and he said to us that nobody understand that he was a man, and started to call him a woman. And he was really upset about that and talked to us. And we thought, well, we really have unprepared people to welcome this all these diverse in the temples, in the communities, and we know by our Sangha that this problem is very seriously, and as Jean said too, that we have social problems because our social values is very Christians, and we have a really, really homophobic society, oppressive society here in Brazil, and unprepared people, not educated people in diversity. And we have to educate people to understand that the human beings are a variety of colors and sexuality and identities, and it's really hard to talk with people about that. And we saw this wonderful work, and we thought, well, we just talked about make something like that our own, but with that book so beautifully written, and we thought that, well, let's translate that. It's already done. Let's get some Brazilian context on that, but it's so wonderful. It's so easy to read, and it's a really good work to show to people here in Brazil how to understand that Buddhists can accept all those people, and there is a way to do that properly. And we thought that it would be wonderful if we translate that.
And so I understand you'll be keeping these beautiful illustrations by my dear friend Venerable Yoda, which are such an important
That's really
part of the book.
beautiful. We
Aren't
will
they really
keep,
beautiful? Yeah. And so
yeah,
you finished the
they
translation, and these things take a long time to create, right?
yes.
And I think it would be a good idea to have some more of that Brazilian context in the booklet, because wherever the booklet has been translated, such as in Thailand, where it was translated, we put some essays by some queer activists and some monks, and this really made it much more specific to the cultural context of Thailand. So, and it sounds from speaking to you that there's a very particular context also in Brazil. And so those things need to be overcome by queer Buddhists there. So I wish you the best in getting the thing finished. I know that it takes a long time. So
Oh,
what
I'm
will
sorry about that. We are quite late. I know that we have some issues. Last year, I had some issues. I was really busy with studies and work. It's my fault.
oh,
We,
don't.
but
This is the thing. I think a lot of people don't realize that people like you, both of you, putting yourself out there for pride, like this is work, you know, doing these things to build a community. This is work, and our communities can only survive with people like you, who are the power behind, you know, this community, the energy behind this community. And this is why I always encourage our queer Buddhists to get involved and help support the communities that are working for us, because it is emotional labor, it is hard. We have to fit it around our PhDs, our work life, our relationships, our social commitments. And I think people generally are quite happy to see these things exist in the world, but aren't always very keen to help create them and sustain them. And so if anyone's out there listening, help your community, especially your queer Buddhist communities. These communities are doing important work and are doing this work on their own sometimes. And it's heavy. Sometimes it can be emotional, right? And without that support, when people become tired or burnt out, these small organizations will just disappear. So, so please help each other out, right? We've got to support each other.
thank you so much. That was such a beautiful words. I almost cry here because I think Heather and Jan can talk a little bit about that, but it's really emotional. Sometimes we get really tired here. Many things is in our in our accounts, and so it's really hard sometimes. But we keep moving, we keep our work, and we want to make our best in this work with LGBT people.
And Reverend Jean, you're a minister of religion, so I imagine that you also take on a lot of the spiritual burden of caring for your queer Buddhist community as well as your broader community. How has that been for you as a spiritual practitioner, coming face to face with these issues as part of your ministering, as part of your spiritual activity?
Well, until I didn't make my come out in Buddhism, especially or as a gay man in the temple, and it was it's recently. It was in 1917, 6 years ago only. Due to I had a boyfriend at this time, and he followed me in the temple, and the community said, "Wow, you are dating someone! No, this is great." And suddenly I realized that I was very welcome in the community. But it's not so easy for everyone. Maybe I was welcome because I'm a white man and maybe a gentleman, because we have to think about other LGBT condition people, like the Black people, the poor people. In this condition, in LGBT condition, the society makes treat differently. So to be face to face with my community, it was not a surprise to be it was a very surprise to be welcomed smoothly. It was not a shock, or people didn't make a gossip to see, well, he's a gay man and he was hiding us to us. No, they just know, and this is okay. Of course, I think there are many of them, they don't like this subject because they came from other generations, and to spread discrimination and prejudice, it's a normal behavior. But I think it's a very representative to be a gay man and a clerical guy, I mean, this at the same time, because why I say this? Because in the Rainbow Sangha website or Instagram, we have many deployments, many how can we say deployments to see you changed my life, because LGBT people are so with a strong pressure due to the guilt and due to the sin. So when they realize that Buddhism, they don't have any of this kind of guilty or sin or moral behavior to see, no, you are a man, so you have to be a man, and you are a woman, you are a woman, you have to be a woman. So they say this is a freedom. So we have many deployments that people say, you saved my life, you changed my life. Even if I'm not to following Buddhism right now, but changing my life because I see that what makes the religion to be discrimination is the people, is not the religion itself.
And this is something that I also get with Rainbodhi. A lot of people writing emails and sending messages saying, thank you, thank you. You really helped me. You made me feel welcome. You made me feel loved and safe. And so this is the stuff I suppose that keeps you going in your
Yes,
work
exactly.
with the Rainbow Sangha in Brazil. This is the stuff that keeps me going too when I get tired. And it's really good to know that we can make a difference in the world.
Yes.
And so, gentlemen, I think we'll wrap it up there. Icaro, I just want to give you the best wishes for, one day in the next, whenever you're ready, getting around to finishing it off, and to perhaps invite you and your community to do a joint Rainbodhi, Rainbow Sangha event one day where we can find a time zone that works and connect with each other and share our queer Buddhist Dharma together. And I want to thank you both from the bottom of my heart for the work you do in the world, and to encourage you to keep going so that you can benefit so many people. And thank you for being here today to have a chat with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, but thank you for inviting us. It was a wonderful time to talk with you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, and I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Thanks
so much.
a lot.
Thank you so much to be an inspiration for us, and especially with this book that now is translated. We are going to procedure for the finished work, and we hope that the Buddhist communities, even for those that denied us the Rainbow Sangha project, they can accept it to see how they can change them and make a difference to receive and to welcome, to embrace LGBT people in their sanghas, because it's very important of this. So last weekend, we just to finish with last week, we made a Jodo Shinshu retreat, and for the first time in the enrollment form, we had male, female, and LGBT gender. So this is maybe it's wonderful, and maybe it's a shock for some Buddhist practice in the temple, but this is the way it is. So we have to see on the Dharma view. So thank you so much for this inspiration, and we hope we can promote the change in our temple here.
Good on you for creating this change, and hopefully much more change will come very soon. Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today. Take care, be well, be happy.